Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
Hello.
Okay, then.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. I can't do it.
I'm sick, so I'm...
Dude, I'm sick, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yay! Let's make it out.
Yay.
I was about to ask if you got it from kissing each other.
Yeah, I remember. It's the only way to get sick, right?
Yes.
Pretty much, yes.
Is that how people get sick like other ways?
No.
Oh.
Maybe.
All right, well...
Would it change things?
That's true. I would still do the things that I do with the people I do it with. So, anyway, okay, so hi, everybody. It's me, and it's Sam, and it's Dustin.
Hello.
And it's also daytime. So, we have some stuff to talk about to take your focus off that weird intro. And, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Oh, yes. Nice to meet you all. Again.
Hi.
Anew. If you haven't been scared away, we got a couple movies today to discuss. So, Dustin, you saw Foxcatcher.
I did, yes. So
it would have been weird for you to ask us if we'd seen it, and for you to also say, "Oh, me neither."
Have you? I want to talk about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, have you guys seen Foxcatcher? No. Oh, me neither.
Oh, me neither. Okay.
So it's going to rain today.
End of podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so Foxcatcher, long story short, we played this at the Savannah Film Festival back at the end of October. And so I saw it there, but I really only saw the beginning because I was adjusting, like doing volume levels and stuff for the theater. And then I saw the end because I came back in to adjust lighting, at the end, pull up lights for people to leave. So I saw the beginning and the end of this film. So I felt like, okay, I can say I'm interested, but I can't really say anything about it, even though I know pretty much everything that's going to happen here. Plus, I had kind of heard the true story that this was based on, so I kind of knew what was going to happen, so I wasn't in any hurry to see it. I didn't see it in theaters or anything, but I went ahead and checked it out on Redbox for $1.50 because of I'm a cheapskate, and it's a good movie. It's for those of you who don't know, it stars Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo. Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo are brothers. They are both gold medal winners at the U.S. Olympics. Now they just kind of train for the next Olympics, and they're not really doing a whole lot. And Channing Tatum gets involved with this really crazy guy named John DuPont, played by Steve Carell. And John DuPont says, I want to be a coach. I want to coach you to be the best in the world, despite the fact that he doesn't really know anything about wrestling. But I want to coach you, and I have weird mother issues like Norman Bates and stuff. And so, and he's super creepy the whole time. And then Channing Tatum's like, yeah, that sounds cool. And so they
whatever, bro.
Whatever, man.
Teach me.
I want to be the best, and if you have a lot of money, then you have more money than I do. So there you go. And so he moves into the estate that John DuPont has, and they have him in this whole separate house. Basically, they build a new gym area. They get a whole team together. Everything's going really well. Everything's good, and then things get super awkward, and jealousies happen, and some stuff, and tragedies, and ultimately it ends. I'm not going to tell you how it ends because, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of seeing a movie. But I will say this, that the movie has to do with the murder of a person by another person. So expect some murdering to happen. It's a very quiet movie. It's probably the quietest movie I've seen in a long time, in that there's not a lot of dialogue, and what there is, it's just kind of characters being stoic and quiet because they're just quiet people. And so there's a lot that's told visually and just kind of emotionally in the film, through music, through just the pacing and the lighting. And so it's a really sophisticated film, I feel like, but I feel like it probably is one of those movies that's going to turn a lot of people away because you kind of do have to read between the lines a little bit. And but I will say this, right? So Channing Tatum, he's kind of a boring character, if we're honest. And Mark Ruffalo to me is a little more interesting. But the scene stealer is really Steve Carell as John DuPont. Steve Carell's in prosthetics. He's got this fake nose. He looks really creepy. Almost looks like a burn victim or something. I don't think that's what they were going for, but it did. And he's a creepy old man who has a fascination with wrestling for unknown reasons. And yeah, I mean, you know what? Steve Carell's just creepy through this whole thing, and it's not unlike Norman Bates. That's why I brought that up a minute ago, because he's got mother issues. Norman Bates in the original Psycho film is a quiet character. I mean, he has a few lines, he talks here and there, but by and large, he's kind of this almost like a shell of a man kind of character. Like, there's a lot going on, but I'm not really going to talk about any of it because I'm kind of creepy and weird. And so to me, Steve Carell's John DuPont is a little bit like that. But Steve Carell proves that he really proves his dramatic chops here, even though I don't think anybody really questioned him. I mean, he's so good at comedy, you just kind of figure he can carry over. But
from everything I hear, like with comedic actors doing drama, that it's actually like a pretty easy transition for them. Like they say it's harder to jump into comedy because it's such like a natural talent, but most of the people who do comedy have had like traumatic experiences or childhoods, or they just understand timing.
No, this is true, and I think like you said, comedy's a natural kind of thing. It's something that can't really be taught. But drama you can learn. Drama is something that I feel like, I mean, there are plenty of drama schools out there. That's what they teach. That's what their name is. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Someone like Tom Cruise is going to have a hard time in a flat-out comedy. Although it was pretty cool in Tropic Thunder. But, Jack Nicholson in a comedy, I know he tried a few. I just don't think it's ever really going to work that much. But, you pull Steve Carell into a drama, and I think it's a pretty easy transition. He does a really good job. He's very creepy. And the film, like I said, it's slow and it's very quiet. But I think it's worth it just to see the downward spiral of these characters and the way that their lives kind of are forever changed. And, it's performed well also by Channing Tatum and by Mark Ruffalo, even though Channing Tatum's a little bit of a dull dud in the film. It's not his fault. It's just the character that was written. He doesn't have a lot to do. He's a very quiet guy. Not super interesting. But so here's what I'll say. I would recommend this to people who are interested in knowing this story, who are interested in seeing Steve Carell do something dramatic for a change, and people who are just interested in sort of the non-dialogue communication in a film. So lighting, score, what are the real impacts of that on the audience? So for that reason, I think it's a really cool watch. But I do think that a lot of the people who probably will see this movie will probably be turned off by it. And that's not to say it's not a good movie. It's just that it's not as exciting as we've come to expect a 2014 movie to be, and it's not necessarily as outwardly like dialogue driven, and the characters aren't as open as most characters are. So I think for that reason, it probably has turned some of the public away from it. Like, you watch it and you're like, well, that's it, that's over. I mean, the end. It doesn't really affect me at all. It's not one of those movies that's going to stay with you, but I do think that it's worth a rent. I mean, it's $1.50. I do think if you have an evening to kill and you want to just pop something in, this isn't a bad way to spend your time, but it's probably also not one that I'm going to go out and buy, because it's not something that I think is rewatchable, except for maybe like once.
Right.
So, it's a good movie, but it's not necessarily fun, and I wouldn't necessarily say that it's rewatchable, but I would say that you can learn a lot from it if you go in looking for those filmmaking techniques.
Let me ask you something, because one thing I heard about it was that, sort of like you mentioned, it's sort of the general public is turned off to it just because it's not as exciting or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you think the fact that it's at least based on a true story do you think that adds to the entertainment value? Like I
think it does.
That's what drew you in more than the parts you had seen before?
Yeah, I think so. When I first heard the movie was coming out, I did Google search the story. So, like I said, I kind of knew how it was going to end. I kind of knew how things were going to happen. But I think the public always has a hunger for things that have actually happened. That's why things like, court TV or, true crime or whatever it is, why these kind of reality shows stick around like they do. Because I think people really do want to see the twisted part of humanity, and they do want to see what actually happened and what this world is, not just from the mind of a writer, but from an actual person. So I think that is going to add to it, and I think a lot of people will probably check it out because of that also. But yeah, from what I read, they do take a few liberties with the actual story.
Right, that's something I had heard, but I'm not seeing the movie, and actually really not have read much about the story other than hearing about it in a couple interviews with actors from the movie. I was just curious on that.
Yeah, they took a few liberties, but I do think that there's an appetite there. The public wants to know what's going on and what things have happened, and I think this will satisfy that part of you.
Well, we all saw Nightcrawler.
Indeed, we did.
Sam and I saw it just now. So Nightcrawler is a film by Dan Gilroy. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as this guy named Lou Bloom, who's a vascular, creepy motherfucker.
Dude, that guy's eyes scare me to death.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you imagine like a staring contest between him and Dr. Hannibal Lecter?
It would literally be like the world exploding. It's like dividing by zero.
So yeah, it's about him, and it really is just about him. There are other characters, but they're not even supporting characters. Like, it is his story. It follows him.
Yeah.
And he's essentially, he's an unemployed pseudo thief who stumbles upon the profession of what's called being a night crawler, where it's kind of this guerrilla style filming where you go to these accidents or shootings or fires and stuff, and you film it, and then you try and sell your footage to local news stations. And it's essentially about the progression of him, as he sees himself as like this entrepreneur, and knowing all these business skills and being like this inspirational kind of like, startup guy, and sort of the ethical or moral lines that he crosses, and the way he sort of manipulates others to be successful. Mm. So, what did you think of the movie, Dustin?
I enjoyed the movie. I think, from the very beginning, I really enjoyed Jake Gyllenhaal's character. Even though I'm not a huge Jake Gyllenhaal fan, I enjoyed this character because, like you said, he's like this entrepreneur. He's basically a salesman. He's like the world's,
best creepy salesman.
Spoken creepy salesman.
Yeah.
And so instantly I'm kind of attracted to, okay, what is this guy's story? What are you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
And I think the first time you see him, he's cutting up chain link fence to sell it for scrap. And when he gets caught, he beats the crap out of the guy that catches him, probably kills him. I don't know, but he steals his watch.
Yeah, it is unknown.
It is unknown. So he's a very creepy and instantly interesting character. So for that reason, I was instantly kind of brought into this world by him. As the viewer, as a spectator, you do stay with him the whole time, like you said. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a fun ride. I think, it may have been a little draggy in the middle, but I think that by and large I was pretty entertained. And, it's very much his story. Part of me wishes some of these other side characters, that we had gotten to spend more time with them or gotten to know them a little better. But at the end of the day, that would have, I think, probably lost the focus that the film has.
Yeah.
But I think by and large, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought that it actually kind of had something to say too. So, what did you guys think?
It was. I think they probably could have cut 10 or 15 minutes out of it. I think it is a little overlong.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to Jake Gyllenhaal's acting because, like I said, he's the singular focus of this film, and for him to be incredibly watchable in every single frame,
Yeah.
you know, and like I liked the other characters as well as but like he's really good and
Yeah.
really carries the movie. I mean, I even read that Dan Gilroy said like we of all Jake's lines in the movie, we changed maybe like one or two words, but almost everything he says is exactly as it's written on the page. And it's just it's this incredibly specific dialogue. I thought it built the tension really well. Like every time he would happen upon a crime scene, you keep thinking something's going to pop out and be like, "What are you doing here?" Or something's going to happen to him, or
And not only is something going to happen to him, but what is he going to do? Because, like you said, he crossed a few ethical and maybe even legal boundaries a few times, and it was questionable. But the character was so interesting because I felt like from one minute to the next, you didn't know where he was, like where his head was. It felt like one minute he's talking to someone and he sounds like a completely normal, albeit sort of
hyper-focused.
Yeah.
But then the next minute he would suggest something that was completely crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
It was very interesting to watch him just sort of... It wasn't like he turned it on and off, though. It's like you always knew that part of him was there. It just came out in certain parts of the movie, and you were like, okay, well, this is where he's going.
Yeah. Whenever the movie was over, I kind of thought... I didn't think about it during, but I thought after... that it has a few similarities to something like Taxi Driver, in terms of here's this kind of shady, you never know where his head is at kind of character, and you're going to follow him mostly in the way that he kind of impacts the people around him, even though you're not really going to get to know many of them. So I felt like in some ways it was similar to Taxi Driver in that way, but I think this has a few colorful characters that I enjoyed, like Bill Paxton's character.
Yeah.
And what was the name of his employee?
His name was Rick Garcia.
Rick,
played by an actor named Rick Garcia.
Really?
Yeah, we were looking at the credits. I said, "Wait, what?"
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's weird.
So there's him. There's Rene Russo.
Yeah.
Who I thought was really good in. I mean, like you said, it's the main focus is on Gyllenhaal's character, but the pressure that he put on her in different spots, like you could kind of see that come out. She was like, at one point at the dinner specifically, she's like, "This guy's crazy," and then she kind of realizes, even though he is crazy, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I need his help.
He did his homework, and he kind of has the upper hand.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch him sort of manipulate people and completely believe in himself as like, growing this business, so to speak.
And I thought it was. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the way he's able to, move the line that they're willing to cross. Like he's willing to cross those lines, and those people aren't. But then all he has to do is talk to them, and he's so convincing that he's like he moves the moral line, the moral ambiguity for them too.
Right, like the serpent in Garden of Eden. It's very much persuasion.
Exactly,
is his talent. I also thought it was really cool. A really cool subject to talk about because I had heard of these types of people who do this sort of thing, but never really thought much about it.
Right.
I don't know about you, Hooper, with your work experience. What you knew about these people going in, but I knew basically nothing. So I was just super enthralled in this whole world. Also,
to my knowledge, at least in this market, I've never known us to buy at either station I've worked at to ever like buy footage from people like this. I know sometimes we get like viewer video. I don't know if those people are ever paid for it or if they just sort of send it in. But this is also, now while we do have, you know, actually a pretty high crime rate compared to the rest of the country in this city, I'm wondering if like, I don't know if these people exist, but I mean, to me that was even beside the point. It was like if they did, this is the kind of people it would probably be.
Right,
it's
and
kind of transient.
in such a large city like
well,
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles is also market too, so it's the second highest market in the whole country.
Right.
So you would believe that there'd be these, you know, unemployed sociopaths with cameras who are willing to do anything for money.
Do whatever.
And, I mean, so. And these markets that will do anything for their story. The only thing that was unbelievable to me was that they would run like graphic crime on a 6 a.m. newscast.
Yeah.
You don't put that kind of stuff on TV. But they put in one character who was like, people are eating breakfast. I'm thinking, see, everyone, that's what everyone would be telling this woman. She'd be fired. But
exactly.
But yeah, you wouldn't run that. But for the sake of, you know, shooting most of the movie at night, and getting it to the news station right after, it makes sense for it to be a morning newscast. But they're right. You know, you would put stuff like that at 10 p.m. when people's kids are in bed.
Yeah,
but,
true.
You know, but not when they're eating waffles.
Right, and getting ready for school.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think overall it was a really good piece of filmmaking. It was well shot. I think it was well paced, except, you know, for the most part, like you said, it kind of drags in certain areas. It doesn't really detract from the story, but so would not cutting out 15 minutes. You know,
sure,
it would have helped a little bit.
Yeah, I checked my watch a little
tighter.
bit towards the middle. Yeah,
I'd look down at the clock on the Blu-ray player and be like, how far into this are we? But you know, it's a good piece of filmmaking and shot in Los Angeles. I know that for a fact too. Actually,
yeah,
which is weird these days.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah, but good film.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, and I would probably watch it again too.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, I would.
Now, here's the real question: would you be more interested if it was Nightcrawler, the X-Men, doing this?
Honest to God, when I first heard just Nightcrawler and Jake Gyllenhaal was all I heard was, and I was like, Jake Gyllenhaal's in a superhero movie?
Yeah, they're going to paint him blue. And
yeah.
You know, it's weird. The Incredible Nightcrawler would have been a better Nightcrawler than these people because he can teleport. So he wouldn't have. He wouldn't need like a staff or a van or anything.
Exactly.
So I would love to see at least a skit with Alan Cumming that would explore that top, like a Fun Year Die.
That would be legit.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Can he teleport with a camera in his hand? Like, would the camera teleport too?
Yeah, because he.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wears like pants and stuff
true.
when he teleports. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't teleport nude.
Well, that would be a different film, and I'm sure Alan Cumming would be all over that film.
Oh yeah. That's all for this episode.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned, people.
Yeah. Or Jake Gyllenhaal's creepy eyes will get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Connor told me that right before we started the movie. He's like, Jake Gyllenhaal apparently practiced not blinking. I was like, that's really odd, but okay. And then the more, you know, the further you get into the movie, you're like, this is actually getting creepy.
Yeah. And also, like, how much can I learn to flex my eyes? Is that possible?
It's like Kegels for your eyes.
Yeah, I just tighten my eyes over and over until they pop out of my face. To great effect.